You are seeing this on June 8th because God just confirmed your victory. Not eventually, not someday, now, today. On June 8th, 2026, something happened in the spiritual realm that has your name on it. Something that God has been building toward through everything the testing season required of you. Through every day of holding on when letting go would have been easier. Through every prayer that seemed to go unanswered, and every door that stayed closed, and every moment of almost stopping that became instead a moment of choosing to continue. God saw all of it. He counted every day of it. And today, on June 8th, He confirmed something that has been true in the spiritual realm for longer than you know. He confirmed your victory. Please listen carefully, because what I am about to tell you is not general encouragement that applies to anyone who happens to be watching. This is a specific word for a specific group of people. The ones who made it through the testing season. The ones who were present for the blue moon sequence. The ones who went through the integration week and the sealing and the 666 portal, and who woke up this morning on June 8th, still believing, still here, still available for what God is doing. If that is you, and I believe it is, then this message is specifically for you. And what God wants to say through it today is this: the victory is confirmed. Let me tell you what that means. Because victory is one of those words that sounds significant, but can land as vague if it is not explained specifically. And God is not a God of vague encouragement. He is a God of specific words delivered at specific times to specific people about specific situations. So when I say the victory is confirmed, I mean the specific situation that you have been in spiritual conflict over is resolved in your favor in the spiritual realm. The specific prayer that has been the longest held and the most costly and the one you almost stopped praying is answered in the spiritual realm. The specific door that has been closed, that you have been believing God would open, that you have been standing in front of in faith when the standing was exhausting and the waiting was long, that door is not just going to open, it is already open in the spiritual realm, and the natural realm is catching up to what is already true in the spirit. That is what the confirmed victory means. Not a future promise, a present spiritual reality that is in the process of expressing itself in your visible circumstances. And June 8th is the day God wanted you to know about it, before the visible expression has fully arrived, before the evidence is undeniable, before the natural realm has completely caught up to what the spiritual realm has already settled. He wanted you to know today, because knowing it before the evidence arrives is what faith does. And the chosen one who receives this word on June 8th and who holds it as real before the visible confirmation is the one who cooperates with the expression rather than waiting for the expression before they believe. You are seeing this on June 8th because God just confirmed your victory, and now He wants you to hear what the victory actually produces. What changes in your life because of what has been confirmed today? The first thing the confirmed victory produces is the end of the siege. Let me explain what I mean by siege. In military terms, a siege is when an enemy surrounds a position and cuts off the supply lines. Not a direct assault. A slow, sustained pressure designed to exhaust the defenders until they surrender from depletion rather than defeat. The enemy does not have to win a battle. He just has to wait until the resources run out. And for chosen ones in the testing season, the warfare has often felt like a siege. Not a dramatic, obvious attack. A sustained, wearing pressure. The specific difficulty of being cut off from the full supply of what the calling requires. Of feeling the gap between where you are and where you know God is taking you, and not being able to cross the gap under your own effort. Of watching the resources, the energy, the finances, the relational support, the visible evidence of progress, all of it seeming insufficient for what is being asked. That is the siege, and it is specifically designed to produce surrender through exhaustion rather than defeat through power. Because the enemy knows he cannot defeat a chosen one who is fully supplied and fully aligned and fully operating in the power that God provides. So he does not try to defeat through power, he tries to deplete through siege. But here is what the enemy does not understand about the chosen one who makes it through the siege without surrendering. The siege does not just fail to produce surrender, it produces something the enemy never intended. It produces the specific formation of character that only siege conditions create, the deepening of faith that only extended testing produces, the specific strength that only comes from discovering you can survive what you thought would break you. And God confirms the victory not just by ending the siege, by revealing what the siege produced, by opening the eyes of the chosen one to what they now carry that they did not carry when the siege began, to who they have become through the sustained pressure of the testing season, to the specific depth of character and faith and resilience that is now the foundation of everything that follows. The siege is ending, not because the enemy voluntarily withdrew, because God confirmed the victory over it. And the confirmed victory removes the enemy's access to the supply lines. It restores what was cut off. It reconnects what was severed. It returns the supply of what the calling requires in the specific forms that the next season needs. Today, on June 8th, the siege ends, and the supply returns. The The second thing the confirmed victory produces is the return of what the enemy stole. This is something that most spiritual teaching does not address directly enough. The reality that the enemy, through the extended testing season, through the siege conditions, takes specific things from chosen ones that belong to them. Not just energy, not just time, specific things, specific relationships, specific opportunities, specific versions of circumstances that would have been available if the testing season had not imposed its delay and its pressure. And chosen ones who make it through the testing season and arrive at the confirmed victory often carry a specific grief alongside the gratitude. The grief of what was lost in the process, of what the siege took that cannot simply be returned by the siege ending. But God is specific about this in His Word. He restores. He does not just end the difficult season and start fresh as though the previous season's costs were simply accepted as permanent. He restores. Specifically, what the enemy stole, what the testing season consumed, what the siege depleted, God restores. Not necessarily in identical form, but in kind, in measure, in the specific quantity of what was lost being returned in the way that is most aligned with the new season's version of the chosen one. The version of you that exists on June 8th is not the version that entered the testing season, and the restoration that God is releasing today is calibrated to the current version, not to what would have served the previous version, to what serves the version that the testing season produced, which means the restoration is going to look different from what was lost. It is going to arrive in forms that are sized and shaped for who you are now rather than for who you were before the siege. And what is returned in those new forms is going to fit the current version of you in a way that the original version never would have. Because the current version, deeper and more refined and more genuinely aligned with the calling, requires something the previous version would not have been able to hold. God restores. Today, on June 8th, with the confirmed victory, specifically, to the current version of the chosen one who made it through. The third thing the confirmed victory produces is the unlocking of what has been held back. During the siege, certain things that God had prepared for chosen ones were held in reserve, not because they were not ready to be released, because the chosen one's field was not ready to receive them, because the testing season, while it was building what needed to be built, was also preventing the premature arrival of what would have been delivered into an unprepared vessel. The mentorship that the chosen one's current level of development was not yet equipped to receive fully. The financial provision that would have been mismanaged or misallocated by the version of the chosen one that existed before the testing season. The specific relationship that the unrefined version of the chosen one would have entered with the wrong posture. The platform or influence or reach that would have been carried without the depth of character that only the testing season could produce. God held all of it back, not as punishment, as wisdom. Releasing the right things to the wrong version of the chosen one is not generosity. It is waste, and God does not waste what He prepared. But on June 8th, with the victory confirmed, with the testing season's formation complete, with the version of the chosen one that emerged from the testing standing in the cleared field of the portal's installation, what has been held in reserve begins to release. The things that were waiting for the right version of the chosen one to arrive, that are now being released to the version that actually exists on June 8th. What gets unlocked in the days following June 8th will carry a specific quality that the chosen one who understands this will recognize. A quality of fit, of arriving in exactly the right form at exactly the right moment, of being precisely what is needed for exactly what God is building now. Not what would have been needed before the testing season, what is needed now. The unlocking is specific, the timing is deliberate, and what releases this week and in the weeks ahead is exactly what the current version of you was always going to need for the specific chapter that begins today. Now let me tell you what God specifically wants to say to you today about the 5 areas of your life that the confirmed victory most directly affects. The first area is your faith. God wants to say to you on June 8th that the faith you maintain through the testing season is seen, not just as a spiritual performance that was evaluated and found satisfactory, as a genuine, costly, real expression of trust in Him that He treasures. The moments when the faith was thin and barely holding, the moments when it was more a refusal to stop than it was a confident expectation of arrival, the nights when you prayed without certainty and kept praying, all of it is seen, all of it counted. And the confirmed victory is in part God's direct response to the faith that held on when holding on was the hardest thing available. Your faith did not go unnoticed, it did not go unhonored, and the victory it was holding on for is confirmed today. The second area is your relationships. God wants to say to you on June 8th that the relational losses and the relational disappointments of the testing season were not permanent definitions of your relational life. They were the clearing of what did not belong in the next season, the removal of what was occupying space that was needed for what was coming. And what was coming is significantly better than what was removed. The confirmed victory in the relational realm means that the people who belong to the current version of you, to the version that the testing season produced, are either already present or are on their way. And the relational quality of the new season, the depth and the mutual recognition and the genuine knowing that is available to the chosen one who no longer carries the testing season's relational wounds without the healing that God is releasing, is going to be qualitatively different from what was available before. Better relationships are coming. God confirmed it today. The third area is your calling. God wants to say to you on June 8th that the calling is not delayed. It is not diminished. It is not less than what you sensed it was before the testing season required you to operate from a compressed version of it. The full version of the calling, the one that was always in you, the one that the testing season was refining rather than reducing, is still intact, still full, still exactly what God created you for. And the confirmed victory means that the expression of the calling in the new season is going to be more aligned, more effective, more specifically powerful than it would have been if the testing season had not done its refining work. The calling is better expressed by the version of you that exists today than it would have been by the version that existed a year ago. God did not diminish the calling through the testing season. He deepened the carrier of it. The fourth area is your provision. God wants to say to you on June 8th that the financial and material challenges of the testing season are not the definition of your provision in the new season. The gaps and the shortfalls and the specific financial pressures that the siege imposed were siege conditions. They were the enemy's attempt to deplete through economic pressure what he could not defeat through spiritual assault. But the siege has ended, and the supply is returning. The specific provision that the new season requires, in the forms that the new version of you most needs it, is moving, not eventually, now, beginning today. Through the specific celestial energies of this week, through Venus conjunct Jupiter on June 9th, through the deliberate movement of God's provision in the direction of confirmed victories. The provision is on its way. Receive it in the form it arrives. And the fifth area is your peace. God wants to say to you on June 8th that the peace that the testing season stole, the specific settled confidence that things are going to be okay, that extended difficulty erodes over time, is being returned today. Not as a feeling that depends on circumstances being favorable, as the specific, grounded, evidence-based peace of someone who knows that God's track record is real, that the testing season produced something, that the victory is confirmed, that what was built in the difficult season is solid, that the foundation holds, that the new chapter is better than the previous one, and that God, who was faithful through the testing, will be faithful through what follows. That peace is available today, on June 8th, as the first fruit of the confirmed victory. Receive it. Let it settle in the specific places where the testing season's anxiety lived. In the chest, in the shoulders, in the breath. Let the peace of the confirmed victory replace the vigilance of the siege. You are seeing this on June 8th because God just confirmed your victory, and the victory is real. The siege is ending. The restoration is coming. The unlocking has begun. The faith was seen. The relationships are improving. The calling is intact and being more fully expressed. The provision is moving, and the peace is available. All of it, on June 8th. For the chosen one who made it through. Now I want to go deeper on what the confirmed victory actually looks like as it expresses in the natural world. Because spiritual confirmation is real and significant. But chosen ones who have been through an extended testing season have learned, sometimes painfully, that spiritual truth and visible expression do not always arrive simultaneously. That what is true in the spiritual realm takes time to become visible in the natural realm. And they have also learned to be careful about proclamations of victory that do not account for the process by which spiritual reality becomes natural reality. So I want to be specific and honest about what the confirmed victory produces in the days and weeks immediately following June 8th. What it looks like, how it arrives, what pace it moves at, and how chosen ones can recognize it as the expression of what was confirmed, rather than missing it because it arrived differently than expected. The confirmed victory does not typically arrive as a single dramatic event that resolves everything simultaneously. It arrives as a sequence of smaller movements, each one building on the previous, each one creating the conditions for the next, each one more visible than the last. And the sequence begins quietly, often so quietly that the chosen one who is looking for a dramatic arrival misses the first movement entirely. The first movement is internal. Something shifts in the interior. The specific quality of the relationship with the situation that was the central object of the spiritual conflict. The burden of it becomes lighter, not because the situation resolved, because something in the chosen one's spirit knows it has been resolved in a realm above the visible. And that knowing changes the carrying. The weight becomes different, less pressing, less urgent, less defining of every moment of the day. If you notice in the days following June 8th that a specific situation that has been heavy feels lighter, that a prayer you have been carrying feels different, less anxious and more settled, that a situation you have been fighting feels more like it is in God's hands rather than yours, that is the first movement, the internal one. The spiritual reality beginning to express itself in the interior of the chosen one who received the confirmation. Do not dismiss this internal lightness as wishful thinking. It is the first evidence of the confirmed victory beginning its journey from the spiritual realm into the natural one. The second movement is relational. Specific connections that are part of the victory's expression begin to appear or to shift. A person who needs to be in your life for what God is building begins to move in your direction. A relationship that has been in tension begins to find the resolution that the testing season could not produce. A new connection arrives that carries from the first moment the specific quality of significance rather than ordinary social encounter. This second movement often happens through what looks like coincidence, a chance meeting, an unexpected message, a conversation that starts in one place and ends somewhere neither person planned for it to go. Do not interpret these as coincidence. The confirmed victory is expressing itself through the relational realm, and what arrives in the relational realm in the days following the confirmation is not random, it is arranged. The third movement is circumstantial. Something in the visible circumstances of the chosen one's life begins to change. Not necessarily the final resolution of the central situation, but movement. Unmistakable, specific directional movement in the direction that prayer has been pointing. A door that was closed begins to open. A resource that was unavailable begins to become accessible. An opportunity that was not present begins to appear. And this third movement, when it arrives, is the one that the chosen one who has been holding the confirmed victory by faith can point to and say, "This is what I was believing for. This is the natural realm catching up to what was confirmed in the spiritual realm. This is God's faithfulness becoming visible." That moment, when the invisible becomes visible, when the spiritual confirmation finds its natural expression, is the moment that makes the entire testing season make sense. When the chosen one looks back at the path that led to that moment and sees, sometimes for the first time, exactly why everything that happened was necessary for this specific moment to be possible. Why the testing season produced the specific qualities that this specific breakthrough requires. Why the timing was exactly right rather than delayed. The confirmation happened today. The expression is in process. And the sequence of movements, internal, then relational, then circumstantial, is how the spiritual victory becomes the natural victory. Watch for the first movement, the internal lightness. It is already happening. Now I want to speak to something that the confirmed victory releases in the chosen one that I think is one of the most significant and least discussed aspects of what God does when he confirms a victory. He releases rest. Not the exhausted rest of someone who has finally been allowed to stop fighting because there is nothing left to fight with. The specific, active, genuine rest of a soldier who has been told the battle is won, who can lay down the vigilance because the vigilance is no longer required, who can sleep deeply without the part of their brain that remained alert through the combat continuing to monitor for the next attack. That rest is available on June 8th, not as a luxury, as the appropriate response to a confirmed victory. God designed his people to rest in the victory he won for them, not to continue fighting after the fight is over, not to maintain the siege posture after the siege has ended, to enter the rest that the victory makes available. And for chosen ones who have been in the sustained vigilance of the testing season for months, the permission to rest is genuinely significant. The permission to stop monitoring, to stop managing, to stop the hypervigilance that was the testing season's physiological response, to let the body and the spirit exhale the sustained tension that the difficulty required them to hold. That permission is what June 8th is giving, rest. In the confirmed victory, in the knowing that what was being fought for has been won in the realm that matters most, and that the natural realm's expression of that win is on its way and does not require your vigilance to arrive. Rest today, not in passivity, not in the abandonment of the practical things the new season requires, in the specific quality of the person who is no longer fighting but is now building, who is no longer defending but is now inhabiting, who is no longer holding on but is now receiving. That is the transition of June 8th, from fighter to builder, from defender to inhabitant, from holding on to receiving, rest in the victory, and begin to build. Now I want to address something that I know will be on the minds of chosen ones who have been in this season for a long time. The specific question that arises when a message about confirmed victory arrives. The question that the testing season's accumulated experience has trained to surface. The question that sounds like caution but is actually the last line of the enemy's defense against the chosen one receiving what God is releasing. The question is, what if this is not really over? What if the confirmed victory is premature? What if there is more testing ahead and this message is building up a hope that is going to be disappointed? I want to answer that question directly, because it is a real question and it deserves a real answer. Yes, there may be more testing ahead. The Christian life is not a linear progression from one confirmed victory to perpetual ease. Future seasons will carry their own challenges. The victory of June 8th does not guarantee the absence of future difficulty, but the victory of June 8th is real. The specific season that has been in process since the testing began, the specific situation that has been the central object of the spiritual conflict, the specific prayer that has been held the longest, the specific door that has been stood in front of in faith, the victory over those specific things is confirmed today. It is not premature, it is precisely timed, and it is real. The enemy's strategy in the hours following a confirmed victory is exactly this: to introduce the question of whether the victory is real, to plant the seed of doubt that makes the chosen one hold the victory at arm's length rather than receiving it fully, to transform the confirmation from a settled knowing into an anxious hoping that is subject to the same uncertainty as everything else. Do not let that strategy succeed today. Receive the confirmation as what it is: a settled spiritual reality that does not require the natural realm's full expression to be trustworthy, that does not need the visible evidence to arrive before the internal peace of the victory can be inhabited. The victory is confirmed, not as a maybe, as a fact, a spiritual fact, the most durable category of fact available, and the natural realm is catching up. Inhabit the victory today, not the anxious waiting for it, the inhabiting of it. And finally, I want to close with something that is the most important thing I can say on June 8th. Not the explanation of what the victory produces, or the answer to the doubt question, or the description of what the natural realm's expression will look like. Just this: God sees you. He saw every day of the testing season. He was present for every moment of it. He did not look away when the difficulty was most pressing. He did not turn his attention elsewhere when the waiting stretched beyond what felt survivable. He was there. In the specific moments when you almost stopped. In the specific prayers that felt like they disappeared into silence. In the specific choices to continue when stopping would have been so much easier. He was there, and he counted every one. And June 8th is the day he says, I saw it all, every moment of what it cost. And I want you to know today, before the visible expression has fully arrived, before the natural realm has completely caught up, before the evidence is undeniable, I want you to know now, the victory is yours. Not because you earned it through perfect faith, because you held on through imperfect faith, and that is what I honored. Not because the testing season made you deserving, because it made you ready. And today you are ready for what the victory produces. You are seeing this on June 8th because God just confirmed your victory, and the victory is real. Now I want to speak to the chosen ones who are reading this with tears, who did not expect to cry when they open this message, who are not entirely sure why this is hitting them as hard as it is, who feel something releasing in their chest as they read the words, the victory is confirmed, that they did not know was being held. That release is real. That is not the performance of an emotional response to spiritually significant language. That is the specific physiological expression of a truth that your spirit recognized before your mind finished processing the words. That is the body responding to the confirmation of something that the spirit has been carrying alone for a long time, without certainty, without visible evidence, without the external confirmation that would have made the carrying easier. And the tears are not weakness. They are not the evidence of a faith that was insufficient or a heart that was too emotionally invested in the outcome. They are the appropriate response of a human being who has been through what you have been through, and who is hearing, perhaps for the first time in explicit words, that what was fought for was worth fighting for, that the fighting was seen, that the victory is real. Let the tears come. Do not manage them or push them back or perform the posture of composed spiritual confidence. Just let them come. They are part of the receiving, the body and the spirit releasing what has been held under the sustained pressure of the testing season. And what releases in the tears creates space, the same kind of space that the Pisces moon was creating through the portal. Open, cleared, available space in which the victory's expression can fully land. Cry if you need to, and then receive. Because on the other side of the release is the specific peace I described earlier. The settled, grounded, evidence-based peace of someone who knows the victory is real and who can now begin to build rather than fight. You earned the tears, and you earned what comes after them. Now I want to say one final thing about June 8th and what it represents in the larger journey. Every chosen one has a date, a specific day in their story when the confirmation arrived, when the spiritual reality of what they had been believing for became more tangible than the doubt that had been arguing against it, when the word arrived that shifted something fundamental in the interior and made the continuing of the journey not just possible, but obvious, not just endurable, but worth it. For some chosen ones, that date was a dramatic moment, a specific prayer meeting or a specific word from a specific person at a specific moment that landed with unmistakable force. For others, it was quieter, a slowly growing certainty, a subtle but undeniable shift in the interior that arrived without fanfare, but that was just as real as the dramatic arrival. June 8th, 2026 is that date for the chosen ones who are seeing this today. The day God confirmed the victory, the day the word arrived, the day the interior shifted from enduring to knowing, from holding on to having arrived. Write this date down, June 8th, 2026, because when the natural realm catches up to what was confirmed today, when the visible expression of the victory becomes undeniable, when you look back at the sequence of how everything unfolded, you are going to want to remember this day. The day before the visible expression, the day the confirmation came, the day you believed before you saw. That faith before seeing is what changes things, what moves them from the spiritual realm into the natural, what cooperates with God's confirmed victory to produce the expression that follows. June 8th, 2026, the day God confirmed your victory. Write it down and watch what follows. And for the chosen ones who found this message late in the day, who are seeing this on the evening of June 8th, who almost did not find it today, who were busy with the ordinary things of an ordinary day and almost let June 8th pass without receiving this word. You did not almost miss it. God made sure you found it before the day ended, before June 8th closed and the specific energy of this confirmation date moved into June 9th. He made sure this word reached you today, because today was the day He chose to confirm your victory, and He does not choose days carelessly. The confirmation that was for June 8th found you on June 8th, not accidentally, on purpose, as every significant word from God always arrives, on purpose, at the specific moment the chosen one was ready to receive it, not a moment before, not a moment after. You are here, on June 8th, reading these words, and the confirmation is yours. And subscribe if you have not yet, because what God does in the days following the confirmed victory is something chosen ones need to know in advance. Every day of this season carries something specific, and you do not want to navigate it without knowing what is coming. The victory is confirmed. The new season has begun. The siege is over. The supply is returning. The unlocking is in progress. The 5 areas of life that the confirmed victory affects are already moving, and what follows in the days and weeks ahead is the visible, undeniable, God did this expression of everything the testing season was always building toward. Stay, watch what June produces, and know that the best of what is coming is still ahead. Write 1111 in the comments. I read every one. God sees every chosen one who is here. See you in the next one.